boxing.
Beats and rhymes.
No one can do it better.
You know, I feel like Manny definitely won the fight. So there are bigger names out there. So one of the possibilities that there's been chatter about, I don't know how real it is Rolly Romero to challenge for the WBA belt. It's all things considered, not the hardest fight to make since he's also involved with PBC. That seems like a pretty decent possibility. I would say, and this is just my conjecture, so I'm not like hearing anything, so to speak, but a fight that would be a big deal, because my understanding about the Barrios fight is it did not do very well in terms of the pay-per-view. But that if they want to make a truly big event that would probably do much, much better on pay-per-view, a guy who doesn't have anything set at the moment for a lot of reasons, and that's Tank Davis against Pacquiao. Because the Lamont Roach fight seems dead in the water in terms of that rematch.
Just reading the way Dan Rafael frames his conjecture, as he calls it.
I would say, and this is just my conjecture.
Just my conjecture. I haven't heard nothing. He's saying he hasn't heard anything from the industry about a Pacquiao-Tank fight. But he seems pretty sure that the Lamont Roach fight is dead in the water. I think Dan was paid, maybe by someone from the PBC or Tank's team to say that. I mean, why don't Tank tell us what's happening with the fight? Why don't someone from the PBC tell us what's happening with the fight? Calvin Ford, Kenny Ellis, tell us what going on. One of the most controversial decisions in modern day boxing, and nobody representing the PBC, Amazon, or Team Tank can tell us what's going on with the fight. Well, Dan Rafael did. He told us it's not happening. But he hasn't heard nothing. But the Pacquiao fight could work.
Let's talk. Come on my side, sir. Come on this side. Yeah, let me be in the middle of shit. Yeah. All right, 3, 2, 1. Man, we live on Twitch right now, man. It's going down. And we got my brother Roach, man. He one of them ones when it comes to...
Man, I'm gonna show y'all how to put that shit on a nigga like I did in March. You hear me?
I ain't gonna lie, I'm about to knock this nigga out, man. So make sure y'all check the first stream right now, man. Press that.
Who was I in the ring with in March?
The team nigga, bro. The team nigga. Come on, that's how you feel. So if he watching this right now, what you gotta tell him?
Right now,
if he watching this right now,
your tail, bro. Stop tucking your tail.
Man, it's getting spicy, man. It's going down. Press that motherfucking link. You heard? We outside with it.
Stop tucking your tail between your legs. Because Lamont knows Tank is ducking him. But you ask the American media about anything. Oh yeah, the fight's off, but the Pacquiao fight's on, the Jake Paul fight's on. Tank not saying anything at all. All of a sudden we hear Tank's talking to Turkey. It wouldn't shock me if that incident with his girl was all choreographed to try and get him out of the fight. Yeah, I'm digging. Probably sound a little paranoid.
Unless it's your blood clot parrot. That's my blood clot parrot.
The Tank fans, they've been hating Lamont Roach because he's went on tour off a draw. I kind of think it's getting like disgusting. The way that he's big leaguing Gary Russell Jr. and the way that he's talking like, why would I do this? And like, you got to draw with Gervonta Tank Davis. Now you're literally living off Gervonta Tank Davis, bro. Like, no, you have a belt at 130 pounds. Gary Russell Jr., DC legend. That's a big fight for the DC. You could even put that in DC. Lamont Roach, like, I don't know. Maybe Lamont Roach got Tank number, but Gervonta Tank Davis created a monster, bro. And this man is draining every single aura point out of Gervonta.
This is two-tone superstar from the Boxing Voice. So Lamont Roach is some kind of parasite for calling out Tank for the rematch.
Hey Tank, during the fight, you guys were really jawing back and forth at each other. Felt like more than any of your other fights, it was a lot of jawing in the ring.
Trash talking. It's a fight, man. Hats off to him. You know what I mean? It was a great fight. Hopefully we get the rematch for sure. It'll be a better outcome.
So Two-Tone wants Lamont Roach to stay quiet when Tank has said he's going to grant Lamont the rematch. That is going to be a better outcome for him in the rematch. He wants to prove himself. But this Two-Tone guy wants Lamont to stay quiet when Tank hasn't come out and said anything about the rematch. Even before the incident with his girl. No one representing Tank has said anything. But Two-Tone expects Lamont Roach to stay in his place and be a good boy. If Lamont Roach is living off that performance, he's got all right to. He's got all right to monetize his performance since Tank ain't going to grant him the rematch. The bottom line is Lamont Roach is ready to fight and set the record straight. Where's Tank? If he's going to go in a different direction, come out and say you're going to go in a different direction. Paying off members of the media to do damage control and why he's not taking the fight. It's bullshit. I don't want to hear the media explaining why Tank isn't taking the fight. Let him come out and explain it. Let Calvin or Kenny or somebody from the PBC come out and explain it.
Boxing.
Beats and rhymes.
No one can do it better.
Jared Anderson has officially pulled out of the fight. We all seen it coming, though. I guess there's some beef going on over there in Top Rank. Added to that, he's been getting high like a last month.
Since getting tagged and hurt by Charles Martin in July of 2023 in a fight that he won on points, Jared Anderson hasn't put in a performance worthy of considering him a serious contender at heavyweight. That was on the back of the breakdown when he was training with Roy Jones. After the Charles Martin fight, he broke down sitting next to his mum, and she hugged him and consoled him as he broke down in tears in the arena, I believe. Then obviously you had the Martin Bacoli fight last year in Los Angeles on the Riyadh season card, and it didn't go very well. But what do? You're a young prospect, you dust yourself off and you come back. And he hasn't been able to do that. He had the one fight against Marios Colas, who no one had heard of. Doesn't mean he can't fight. That went the distance. A clear unanimous decision win. That was in February. And now Jarrell Miller is informing us that he pulled out of the fight. Jarrell Miller said apparently there's beef at Top Rank. Does he mean with Jared Anderson, Bob Arum? Is it something to do with Top Rank moving away from ESPN and trying to bed down on a new platform? Jared Anderson is still only 25. Could be one of them stories in years to come where we're asking what happened to his career. There seemed to be so much upside at one stage and then it all went to pot. His record now stands as 18 wins, 1 loss, 15 aside the distance. Probably isn't in any fit mental state to fight. Obviously, we have to take everything that Jarrell Miller says with a pinch of salt. If he's getting high, like Jarrell Miller said he was, that's not good. Not good at all. There was a short list of opponents at Riyadh last year. Bob Arum didn't want Jared Anderson to take that Bacoli fight, but Anderson wanted the money and he took the highest valued opponent, which was Bacoli. And he gambled that Bacoli wouldn't come with the most risk, and he got it wrong. Miscalculation. I don't know what he was paid, but he got paid handsomely. And he's always said he doesn't need to win the heavyweight championship to walk away from boxing. I don't really look at the Riyadh season purses no more, because no one really seems to know the true figures. But it seems like he's partying on the money he's earned from the Bacoli fight, and he has no motivation to fight. That's what it seems to me. There's been no news of an injury. He's pretty much irrelevant to the heavyweight picture right now, just being brutally honest.
Boxing.
Beats and rhymes.
No one can do it better.
Terrestrial television, the BBC and ITV in particular, they know they've missed out big time on the boom period for British heavyweights from 2015 when Tyson Fury took them titles from Vladimir Klitschko, all the way up to his fight this year with Usyk. In between that, you had AJ winning the unified titles twice, and Daniel Dubois held the belt very briefly. And I think BBC have seen the opportunity to get back in the game, albeit very cautiously. News today, Ben Shalom Boxxer have signed a deal with the BBC. What does it all mean? He will be broadcasting Boxxer promotions from BBC's iPlayer. Now the sales pitch so far is that primetime boxing comes back to the BBC. Well, okay, it's in a primetime slot, but the iPlayer is not the same as BBC One or BBC Two, or perhaps even BBC 3 or 4 and the other BBC channels on Freeview. The iPlayer supports a lot of, I don't want to say B-list content, but content that couldn't make it on BBC One or BBC Two. And the thing is, they can't put a whole card on BBC One. It takes up at least 6 or 7 programs they can fit in that time slot. Now, I don't want to jump the gun. It says here, boxing back on primetime free-to-air BBC TV and BBC iPlayer. Well, does that mean that the undercard and the main event will be on the iPlayer, but the main event may also be accessible on TV itself? BBC One, BBC Two perhaps, or the other Freeview channels they have? Which will be very good if they could do that. That's what Channel 5 do. They don't show the whole card on Channel 5. You can catch some of the undercard on Channel 5 on YouTube. I've even seen some of the undercards on DAZN. If they can do that, they could get some huge audiences on BBC. Let me tell you that now. especially if they can get the right fights. It's dependent on what kind of budget, what rights fees the BBC are giving up, and what fighters they can retain. The information I got was that the budgets are going to drop quite drastically from when they was at Sky to 500,000 if they're lucky per card. What it said was 500k south. That means down. So that's the main event, undercard and everything. Now, before everybody starts jumping up, it's free to air. At least it's free to air. Of course it's free to air. It's 500k max per show. Of course it's not pay-per-view. But if you believe they're not trying to develop pay-per-view stars, they're not just putting boxing on there just for you as a boxing fan. They're putting it on there to try and make money eventually. Not everybody has pockets like Turkey where they can say, right off the pay-per-view. No free lunches. You know, if you've got a smart TV, Virgin, Sky or laptop, iPhone, Android, computer, that means you can access pay-per-view content. I watched Chris Eubank Jr. against James DeGale on pay-per-view via Virgin Media for an ITV channel. And when that flopped, ITV got rid of the pay-per-view platform. ITV didn't used to charge pay-per-view back in the day because the technology wasn't there for them to do that. If anyone blows up really big on Boxxer BBC, it's going on pay-per-view, which is a shame because if it didn't, they could put it on BBC One, BBC Two, maybe get 3 million, 4 million audiences. You can't do them 16 millions that Nigel and Chris Senior used to do or McGuigan used to do. You can't do that no more because there's too much channels and there's too much content out there. But you could do 3-4 million easy. But yeah, they're going to start Ben Shalom off with a modest budget. They're going to see how it goes. I don't believe there'll be a whole load of cards, at least not in the first year or so. This is probation, basically. They're going to see how he gets along. This is very experimental. If it's on the iPlayer, it's experimental. They want to see what works and what doesn't work. This is minimum risk they're taking. What did he get? 36 million from Sky? Not getting that kind of money right now. Not getting that kind of money. They have no ready-made superstars to kick off this campaign. Fraser Clark and Jamie TKV are set to headline the first Boxxer show on BBC on September the 27th. That'll be for the British heavyweight title. And I'm just telling you now, that's going to be on a very depleted undercard. That's a British heavyweight title. They're both going to be looking for significant purses, which is going to eat up most of that 500 south, maybe 400 pound budget. But hey, this is good. How long have I been saying that the British title should never come off terrestrial television? And it shouldn't. All British title fights at all weights should be, in my opinion, the British public's ownership. No one should be charging subscription. Although, in saying that, they're saying it's free to air. People still have to pay TV license. I pay TV license. Nothing is free. Nothing is free. When you go on the iPlayer, they ask if you have a television license. And unless you put in some dodgy details, you'll be declined from using the iPlayer. So there'll be no big budgets on what they spend on the cards. Then they may not be allocated a lot of dates, at least not in the probation period. Let's see how loyal the fighters are. Ben might try and convince some of the fighters to grind it out and stay with them, but that's not their job. Especially if they're getting offers to go on ready-made platforms with ready-made big budgets.
Talking about Boxxer, obviously news come out this morning actually of their deal on BBC. What are your thoughts on that?
I think it's great. Sometimes you always look for the negativity. A lot of people are saying, yeah, but they're not paying a lot of money and how are you going to make big fights? True, but it's still on terrestrial TV, which I think is great for boxing. They're not going to pay significant rights fees, but we received a tender last week to see if we wanted to do the production, because obviously we have a production company as well. Yeah. So we got sent the full details of what it was, which is 4 shows a year. That's what it said on the tender document, 4 shows a year.
4 shows a year. Well, see, Fraser and Jamie, they get to run out in September, but do they get another run out between now and next September with 4 dates for the year? Eddie Hearn must have got that wrong. He must have got that wrong. Ben Whittaker, Eubank Jr., Adam Azine, Caroline Dubois, Dan Aziz, Lauren Price, Callum Simpson, Chris Billion-Smith, Vidal Riley, Karen Argenstall, Tyler Denny, TKV, Martin Bacoli, Fraser Clark. He doesn't have a massive stable, but nevertheless 4 dates.
It's simple mathematics.
Withstanding contract breaches. We're just waiting for the next one of them to follow behind Joshua Boatsi for either Frank or Eddie to pick them up. But it's not all doom and gloom. I don't think he's under that much pressure like he was at Sky. And as long as BBC don't have expectations that this is going to be the next DAZN, he can do his thing for a little while.
Boxing.
Beats and rhymes.
No one can do it better.